okay. We made it.
I think we are.
We made it. We're so sorry for the delay for anyone who was waiting on us, working out some technology kinks. So I'm Amy, and I am a certified Cornerstone childbirth doula and a certified Cornerstone childbirth educator.
Oh, me, sorry. Hi, I'm Jen. See, I got myself all discombobulated. Okay, so I'm Jen Kelly, and my business is Belly to Bliss Birth Services, and I'm a birth doula and a childbirth educator.
And together we are Sacramento Cornerstone Childbirth.
Yay.
And we are so excited to have this platform to be able to share great tips and tricks to help you get through pregnancy, labor, birth, the postpartum period, the fourth trimester. We normally are right here teaching childbirth education classes in my home classroom, but because of the COVID-19 pandemic, we have moved all of our services to an online virtual format. So we are currently teaching our comprehensive 20-hour childbirth education class to families all over, because now that we have technology at our fingertips, we can really reach a broader audience. So our classes, as I said, are 20-hour series, and we teach over the course of 4 Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. And, you know, we get all dressed up for you, but you stay in your jammies. We don't judge. And we are still teaching the exact same curriculum, doing all of the same fabulous coping measure demos, just through the lens of Zoom. Thank you, Zoom.
I know.
And Jen and I can still be together, even though we're not together. What are they saying? Together apart?
We're together apart, yes.
We're together apart. So our next class series actually starts this Saturday, May 2nd. We do still have room. So if you wanted to go to saccornerstonechildbirth.com, you can read more about our class and also get yourself registered. So if you're having a June, July, August baby, May or June may be a great fit for you. So we would love to have you.
Yes.
Take it away.
Take it away. Okay, so each week we're going to be bringing you little snippets of our class, just to give you a little bite-sized piece. And so tips and tricks for navigating pregnancy, birth, and postpartum period like a boss. So this week we're going to be talking about comfort needs, making sure those are met during labor so you can concentrate on the very hard work, but super rewarding of having that little squish after.
Absolutely. So we're giving you a little taste of what it's like to be in our classes. And I'm going to get us started. So what are our 4 basic needs in labor, our basic comfort needs? So we need nourishment, we need hydration, we need rest, and we need to empty our bladders. So
better out than in, everything. That's a mantra. Okay, so first one we're going to touch on is nourishment. Somewhat a little controversial a few years ago. I think we're kind of catching up these days, but the whole thing around not eating in labor kind of goes back to anesthesiologists. Those are the doctors that perform and administer anesthesia. We see that either with epidurals or surgical birth. And so the whole thing about not eating while in labor is in case your labor journey takes that turn and a surgical birth kind of comes part of your plan, part of your journey. They want to make sure that you are empty stomached, because if you would be going into any other type of surgery, they would want you to arrive without food in your stomach or liquid somewhat, but not food is the big thing. And that is because they don't want you to throw up and aspirate that food into your lungs and cause a whole other big problem. So that's kind of where the background of it is, of where they would not allow, my little air quotes, allow you to eat. And if you were hooked up to IV fluids, they would probably want to curve a little bit of the clear fluid intake, but that's kind of the bare minimum that you could do, is that clear fluid intake, and that's water, broth, juice, popsicles, that sort of thing. Not very nourishing. So kind of now what we're seeing is that they've really kind of gotten up with the evidence behind eating while in labor. And so they've really loosened the reins on allowing laboring people to eat, because of course we found out that the risk of eating while in labor, in case you go to a surgical birth, definitely does not outweigh the benefits of eating. And I always like to say, do they expect these marathon runners to do the, 26.2 miles of running without eating? That would be a big fat no. You would collapse. You need the fuel to get you through. And so that's kind of what you're doing inside your body, is this big marathon to get your baby earthside and in your arms. So it's kind of not a great thing to keep nourishment out of the picture in terms of how your labor progresses. So how do you get your calories for that big push of labor? So about 37 weeks, I would start to be mindful of your hunger level. If you were to go into labor the next day, we always ask ourselves these questions. They're kind of the questions that we're going to be talking about. But we want to make sure that you are not starting labor hungry, already depleted. So we want to make sure that towards the end of pregnancy, that you are making sure that you are eating enough calories to get you through if you were to start labor the next morning, the next day, or anything like that. So be sure, like every couple of hours, to have a snack. High protein snacks are very good for your body. They're very, instead of like high sugar or high, sometimes even high fat, but high protein is what you're really looking for, because that's what's going to convert into energy. So make sure you're eating your snacks, you're eating your meals. So if you happen to start labor that next day or that next morning or even that next hour, that you won't start in a completed, depleted state.
All right, awesome. So what's the next need?
One other thing I want to add.
One more thing? I'm sorry, I cut you off.
One other thing.
This is what it's like in our classrooms.
Yeah. We like to lovingly say we equal a brain. So here we are. So when you've already started labor, that early labor period, you're still going to want to eat those full meals. So when you get into that active labor and beyond that, we want to make sure that the food that you've eaten prior to that is going to help you get through that part, because you're not going to want to eat a full meal at that point. It's just going to be kind of up to your partner, your support people, to offer you small bites just to kind of maintain that energy, so you don't completely get depleted. So it is super important with what you eat before you get into that active labor phase to really help you when you get there. I'm done now.
Awesome. that was my bad. Okay, so we got your nourishment taken care of. Hydration. There's no way to get around it. You need to drink. In fact, in pregnancy, you should be drinking at least 10 cups of water a day. So for some people, that's a lot. For some people, that's what I drink every day anyway. So wherever you are on that spectrum, you need to be getting in your water. You're building a lot of blood volume. You're drinking for 2. You're peeing for 2. So hydration is so important. And we know that muscles do not function when they are thirsty. They don't function when they're hungry either. So, and you're going to notice a theme here. We want your muscles functioning or working at their optimal peak. So hydration is going to be another one of those things that you might not be mindful of while you're in labor. So you really need someone by your side to remind you to take drinks. So just like Jen said about hunger, around 37 weeks, because you just won't know when you go into labor, be mindful, not just am I hungry, but am I thirsty? So am I hungry? Am I thirsty? Did you know that actually by the time you start feeling thirsty, your body has already started going into a slight dehydrated state? So keeping a nice tall jug of water. Are you going to grab yours? Yay, I only have a glass today. So. But I'm home, so I've been refilling it. So I'm good. I'm good. But keeping that stocked throughout the day, outside of labor, just making sure that, if you are going to start labor in the next hour or two, does your body have all of the fluid and minerals that it needs in order to function at its optimal? So once you're in water, once you're in labor,
I was going to say you could be in water, but maybe not. At home you can't.
Once you're in labor, that need does not go away. In fact, you might be breathing heavy from, focusing on that deep breathing that we talk about. And that makes you thirsty. So make sure that you continue to, get that regular intake of water. You don't necessarily need routine IV fluids unless you have other medications on board. You can orally hydrate yourself. And don't forget about electrolytes. So electrolytes are super important. You can actually drink too much regular water, and that makes it really hard for your body to absorb all those minerals that you need. So try to work in some kind of electrolyte drink every other glass or every 2 glasses throughout the day and in labor. And we highly recommend sourcing, really good quality electrolytes. So you can get ready-made electrolyte water. You can get tablets to add to your water that dissolve and add electrolytes in. You can make your own drink called Labor Aid. You can look up a recipe online. We recommend that you stay away from the sugary sports drinks. I'm not going to name any names, but you know what I'm talking about. They're delicious and they're so colorful. And, if that's your thing, we highly recommend that you save it for after labor because it's actually quite dehydrating, all of that sugar.
Even artificial sugar.
Even artificial sugar, absolutely, absolutely. Coconut water, if you like it, that's a really great source of just natural electrolytes. But like I said, you can get it ready-made. You can add stuff to your water to get those electrolytes in. And just like with hunger, you might not be thinking while you're coping with labor, you might not be thinking, oh, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty. That's where your partner or another support person in the room can pick up that slack for you and make sure that your needs are being met in that area. So, you can either bring your big jug of water with you if you're changing locations for your birth, or, like the birthing centers and hospitals all have nice big jugs. Make sure you use a straw because, Jen I always envision you doing this, Jen, when I talk about
it too.
You just hold the straw to their mouth and they'll drink. Right. So you're
the whole leading a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
It's not true.
Labor.
Not that our wonderful tutoring people are horses.
Are horses. Okay, that may have came out a little wrong.
We'll work on that one.
We'll work on revamping that one.
I love it. Okay, so make sure you get your nourishment and your hydration in. Jen, you've got the next one.
All right, number 3. This may be the hardest one. Rest. We can't kind of relay enough how much rest in the early stages of labor in the last weeks of pregnancy, how I'll even go back. Your whole pregnancy, you really need to keep up on your rest. But getting towards the end of pregnancy.
It has something to do with the fact that they're growing
making a human out of tiny little, So rest. Because there's no way to predict, because we don't have crystal balls, that will lead us to when your labor is going to begin. You need to be rested towards the ends of pregnancy. It's just going to really impact your labor. More so, I think, almost than the others, of going in at a completely depleted state of not being able to sleep, of not having enough rest. Let me put it that way. It's just it's trying to drive on an empty tank. It's, there's so many other analogies that I could. Now you're a car. I'm terrible at this tonight. It's trying to just start off with no rest. I know when I'm tired, I'm not coping well with things that I usually can cope very well with. When I'm tired, if my dogs are barking, it's gonna affect me a lot more than if I wasn't tired, overly tired. So just like everything else, your muscles are not going to function if they are tired. And when we talk about muscles, the huge muscle in play here is your uterus. It's just one big ball of muscle that's going to help with those contractions, getting your baby down so you can push them out. So we need to make sure that that muscle is at its tip-top shape, that it's working as effectively as possible. So what can we do? That 37-week kind of point again that we talk about is ask yourself, are you tired? If I go into labor again in the next few hours, the next day, the next morning, am I going to be rested enough? Am I going to be able to cope with labor if at the rest that I'm at right now? So napping, make sure you're getting some naps in. If you feel tired, even if it's just for a quick 15-20 minute nap throughout the day, perfect. You're listening to your body. You're giving it what it needs. Make sure that you are going to bed at the kind of regular time, so you're getting a good, nice, as much as you can at the late stages of pregnancy, sustained sleep. Even maybe a little earlier to accommodate for those kind of wakeful moments that you might have, needing to go to the bathroom, needing to roll over and take all your pillows with you and everything like that. So just make sure that you are getting on a kind of a little bit of a regular schedule, maybe a little bit earlier than normal. This is kind of a big thing for a lot of us. We kind of sit there on our phones or on our iPads or something like that while we try to fall asleep. Totally guilty. But limit your screen time. Maybe do a relaxation or a meditation or something like that, so it can kind of help you get more relaxed, and you may be able to get an even better sleep. Now, if labor starts in the middle of the night, here's the big one: go back to sleep. Early labor is actually the longest stage. It's the easiest stage. It's the stage where you're more likely going to be able to get this rest. So if you start to feel contractions in the middle of the night, which is totally a thing, it happens. We could talk about that maybe another time. But you want to make sure that you're not getting up and you're not, you don't have to do a lot of things at this early stage. You need rest. So go back to sleep, so you can stack up on that rest for when it gets a lot more limited later on in labor. We talk about oxytocin a lot. It's the love and labor hormone. That's what's going to sustain and get you into what is lovingly called an adequate labor pattern. So what can you do to try to get the oxytocin flowing right away is, maybe you can't go back to sleep, but you can cozy up into your partner in bed. You can maybe, if it's during the day, you guys can cuddle up on the couch and watch a rom-com or something like that. That's all going to be oxytocin inducing, and that's considered resting. You're not actively doing something. Hopefully, maybe you'll actually fall asleep during the movie. So those are just kind of little things that you can do. So just find moments in early labor to try to calm yourself. We can, again, put in for a relaxation or a meditation. But try to get those naps, try to get as much as you can, because it is going to be a lot tougher later on to get any type of sleep. And like I said, depleted state is not going to be effective for your muscles, for coping, or any of those types of things. Make sure you communicate with your birth team, your partner, if you have even a virtual doula at this point, your nurses, that you're going to want to try to be quiet and restful in between your contractions. That's our period at that point. Even if it's only that 3 to 5 minutes, sometimes during active labor, where you could kind of just turn your mind down because you are not in an active contraction, you may be able to do enough to get a little bit of restoration at that point. So good tip is to make sure that there's not a conversation in between your contractions, between every single contraction. You don't need to have a full conversation. Just because you're not having a contraction does not mean you're still not trying to accomplish something at that point. So I would definitely communicate that with your birth team. It's really important to catch whatever you can in those times.
And I would say, especially if you have a partner or someone on your support team who is very, like they get kind of excitable when they're nervous.
Yes.
We've seen it so many times where partners they just have all this nervous energy and they want to make sure everything's okay. And so when there are these quiet moments in between, when you're supposed to be resting, they try to fill that space with engaging you. Or I've even seen laboring people like try to get into, this entertaining stage. And it's like, nope, this is your time to be down. Rest time.
It just flashes in my head and I'm like, oh, yes.
I have a couple of those too. Absolutely. And like, it's one of those bless their heart moments, right? Yeah. Like they're just coping in any way that they can, but what they don't realize in the moment is that they could be taking that laboring person out of their coping zone.
Absolutely.
By trying to engage them. So it's really important to just respect and honor that time in between.
Totally. All right.
So you're nourished, you are hydrated, you are rested, hopefully, and now you got to pee. So we know, we know where your bladder is, right? Especially if you're later in pregnancy. But if you don't know, your bladder sits right below your uterus. And the bigger your baby grows, the more weight your belly and the baby press on the bladder. And so there's a couple of really great reasons why you would want to empty that bladder, especially in labor. Okay, so you're going to do it outside of labor anyway. You're waking up in the middle of the night, you're running to the bathroom, we get it. But when you're in labor, here's a couple of reasons why you want to be mindful, or at least have a partner or other support person in the room that can just say, let's take a trip to the bathroom. It's been a while, here's why. Number one, when your bladder is full, it starts to contract. And that contraction that's happening is our signal that it's time to pee. So your bladder starts contracting and your uterus, which is right near it, goes, oh, okay, I should start doing that too. But the contracting that the uterus does is not like a functional contraction that's going to cause dilation, cervical change. It's irregular. It's like irritable uterus that isn't really, it's not going anywhere. It's not productive. So that can be quite painful for people. And we don't use the P word very often. We talk about discomfort. Not everybody describes their labor as painful. Yes. However, with a full bladder, I've never had a client go, oh yeah, I'm feeling good right now.
I'm feeling fantastic. I know outside of pregnancy, when you really, really, really got to pee and you get to the point to where you're like, I have to pee now. It's uncomfortable and painful. So imagine the extra weight of that uterus right on top of that.
Absolutely. So if you want to try to avoid added discomfort, empty your bladder. every hour is a good measure, but just, like if your partner or another support person has an intuition like, oh, it's been a while, just take a trip to the bathroom, wherever you are. The other thing to think about, and we have seen it in labor, we have seen where a full bladder acts as a speed bump for baby. So because your bladder and your uterus fight for space in that small area in your pelvic region, if your bladder is full, your baby has got to pass through or around the bladder to come and meet you. And so if your bladder is full, I mean, I have seen where babies are just stuck. They're just hung up. They can't, they're not progressing. And, sometimes when you get to that point, when baby's kind of pushing on your bladder and it's really full, sometimes you can't even pee. Sometimes they have to do what's called an in and out catheter, where they have to drain your bladder manually. And I've seen that where it's happened, where they drain the bladder and then whoop, there's baby.
There's a baby.
Right? So your bladder can really serve as what we call a speed bump for baby to pass through and progress. So avoiding discomfort, possibly shortening your labor, those are two great motivating factors to take care of your bathroom needs. And while you're in there, I'm just going to add another tip. We call the toilet the dilation station.
I was waiting for you to say it.
Yeah, I know. We can read each other's minds at this point. We've been working so long together. We're such a great team. It's a great place to make change, because when you are sitting on the toilet, let's just be frank, that is where we let go, right? That's where we let go of our pelvic floor to eliminate. So when you sit on the toilet, your brain is going, okay, I need to let go. And when you let go of your pelvic floor, which is this hammock-shaped muscle that goes from your pubic bone and goes underneath all your bits to your tailbone, that creates space for baby. So lots of change happens on the toilet. And you can sit regular style on the toilet. You can flip around and sit backwards. We share lots of tips for how to make that work in our classes. But we do hope that you are mindful of these comfort needs, because they really will have a positive impact on your labor.
And when Amy says positive impact, what she's really saying is the possibility of shortening your labor. And
yeah, and less discomfort.
Yes, less discomfort. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so what are we going to do? Let's do a quick recap. The 4 things that we talked about are making sure you are eating plenty of food and nourishment, the right stuff, lots of protein, so you are nice and nourished before labor starts, keeping those bites of food going. Hydration, making sure you're staying nice and hydrated before and especially during labor. Lots of rest. Embrace that easier part of labor, and rest as much as you can. And pee, y'all, pee as much as you possibly can with all the liquid that you are consuming.
Absolutely.
Yay. So thank you so much for joining us this evening. Apologies for trying to get our technology together. That's one thing we're a little lackluster in, I think, sometimes, is technology. If you look back on some of our videos, our earlier videos, remember that one that we forgot to turn off our live?
Yay. We're pros now, Jen. We've got this.
So practical tips, tools to help you cope in labor. I hope that gives you a nice little, if you're new to watching us, that is a little bit of a sneak peek within our classes. But we have a lot of other stuff, so time for our shameless plugging here. So our YouTube channel is Sacramento Cornerstone Childbirth. All the videos that we don't lose, because let's face it, we've lost a couple, because I won't mention the other social media platform that we've been having trouble with. Facebook and Instagram. Oh, you'll find all of our videos that we do have on our YouTube channel. Facebook, Instagram, we're at Sacramento Cornerstone Childbirth for both platforms. And visit our website to get all the information on the method that we teach and classes and how to register. And that is saccornerstonechildbirth.com.
And I wanted to mention, we do know that times are tough for people right now. We know that finances are an issue. Everybody is hurting in some way. We save a spot in every series that we teach. That's a pretty deep scholarship offering. Our class is normally $400. We offer the class to our scholarship recipients at $75 a class for the whole series, for the 20-whole series. Yeah. And fortunately for them, unfortunately for other people, our scholarship spots are full for May and June, but we are working with people and their finances. So if finances are an issue for you, or you know someone who needs some really good childbirth education, this is not a quick and dirty class. This is a comprehensive, you are going to leave feeling very confident, prepared to rock this labor yourself. If you're a partner, you're going to feel confident in your ability to support your partner. So just reach out to us if finances are an issue. We'd rather you take a great childbirth education class than not take one at all because you're hurting financially.
Yeah. I mean, deep down, that's why we do this. And
absolutely.
So definitely send us an email and see what we can do.
Yep, for sure. So come hang out with us next week. We're going to be doing these Wednesdays, 8:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time if you're outside of the California area. Next week, we're going to be sharing a few hot tips for helping you to help baby get into their most optimal position for birth, to do more of this easing discomfort and labor and possibly shortening your labor. So we will be here on Facebook again next week.
Are we going to be on Facebook or Instagram?
Or maybe Instagram.